There is a place in Utah where the laws of nature seem to fail. A 500-acre stretch of land in the Uinta Basin where cattle are found drained of blood with surgical precision, where objects appear in the sky that move in ways that defy physics, where families have fled in terror after months of psychological torment. The government has investigated it. Billionaires have bought it. Scientists have studied it. And every single person who has spent significant time there leaves with the same unsettling conclusion. Something is watching. Something is aware, and it doesn't want to be understood. This is Skinwalker Ranch, and it may be the most paranormally active location in North America. The ranch sits in northeastern Utah, surrounded by desolate high desert and the Uinta Mountains. The land is vast and empty, the kind of place where silence feels heavy. For generations, the Ute Nation has avoided this area, speaking of it only in warnings. They call it the Path of the Skinwalker, a malevolent shapeshifter from their oldest stories, a witch who wears the skin of animals and brings chaos and death. The Ute elders say the land is cursed, that it sits on a place where the barrier between worlds grows thin. Tribal members who grew up in the region refuse to set foot on the property. Even today, they say those who disturb it are followed home by something dark, something that attaches itself and doesn't let go. For a long time, outsiders dismissed this as folklore. Then the Sherman family moved in. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased the ranch, dreaming of a quiet life, raising cattle in the Utah wilderness. They had 2 children, and the property seemed perfect. Wide open land, a comfortable house, privacy. But on the day they moved in, they noticed something unusual. Deadbolt locks had been installed on every door and window, both inside and outside the house. Heavy chains and reinforced hasps were bolted to the doors. The previous owners had left in a hurry, leaving behind furniture and personal belongings, as if they couldn't pack fast enough. Terry thought it was odd but didn't dwell on it. That was a mistake. Within weeks, the Sherman family realized something was profoundly wrong. Their cattle began acting strangely, becoming agitated for no reason, clustering together in the corners of pastures, staring at empty fields. Then the mutilations started. Terry found a cow in the morning, dead, with its udder, rectum, and reproductive organs removed with what appeared to be surgical precision. There was no blood on the ground, no tracks around the body, no signs of struggle. The cuts were clean, almost cauterized. Over the next few months, 14 of their cattle were found the same way, each one drained and mutilated, each one discovered in broad daylight, as if whatever was responsible worked without fear of being seen. But it was the wolf incident that shook Terry to his core. One afternoon, the family spotted an enormous wolf approaching their cattle. Terry described it as 3 times the size of a normal wolf, with amber eyes and a calm, almost unnatural demeanor. Terry, his father, and his nephew grabbed rifles and tried to scare it off. The wolf didn't run. It walked up to a calf, grabbed it by the snout, and began dragging it through a fence. Terry shot the wolf at close range. The bullet struck its body with a thud. The wolf let go of the calf, turned, and looked at Terry. He shot it again, and again, 4 times, point blank, hitting center mass. The wolf didn't bleed. It didn't fall. It simply walked away into the trees as if nothing had happened. Terry and his father tracked it through the mud, following clear paw prints. Then the tracks stopped, mid-stride, in the middle of an open field. The wolf had vanished. After that, the activity escalated. The family began seeing lights in the sky, glowing orbs that hovered silently above the ranch and moved at impossible speeds. Some were small, the size of softballs, floating just above the ground. Others were massive, illuminating entire fields with a cold blue light before shooting upward and disappearing. Terry watched one object descend into a pasture, hover inches above the ground, and then blink out of existence as though it had passed through into another dimension. The sightings happened multiple times a week, always at night, always in the same areas of the property. Then came the creature in the trees. Gwen Sherman was outside one evening when she saw something massive moving through the cottonwoods near the house. At first, she thought it was a bear, but as it emerged into the clearing, she realized it was unlike anything she'd ever seen. It stood upright on two legs, towering over 7 feet tall, covered in dark matted fur. Its eyes reflected the porch light, glowing yellow. It didn't make a sound. It simply stood there, watching her. When she called for Terry, it turned and vanished into the darkness without a single footfall, as though it weighed nothing. They found no tracks the next morning. Inside the house, things grew worse. Doors slammed shut on their own. Objects moved when no one was looking. The family would set something down and find it across the room minutes later. Voices whispered in empty hallways. Their dogs refused to enter certain rooms, growling at doorways and corners where nothing was visible. The children reported seeing shadow figures moving past their windows at night, tall and thin, impossibly fast. Electronics malfunctioned constantly. Phones would ring with no one on the line, or with strange static and muffled voices speaking in a language no one recognized. The television turned on by itself, always tuned to static. Batteries drained in minutes. Clocks stopped at the same time every night. The psychological toll was unbearable. The Shermans felt watched every moment they were on the property. Terry described a sensation of invisible eyes following him as he worked, an oppressive presence that made his skin crawl. Gwen began having nightmares of figures standing at the foot of her bed. The children begged to leave. By 1996, after less than 2 years on the ranch, the Shermans put the property up for sale. They didn't care about the financial loss. They just wanted out. When a journalist asked Terry what he believed was happening on the land, he said something that still echoes today. "We think there's a portal on this property. Something uses it to come through. And we don't think it's friendly." Enter Robert Bigelow, a Las Vegas billionaire with a deep interest in the paranormal and unidentified aerial phenomena. Bigelow purchased Skinwalker Ranch in 1996 and immediately placed it under the control of the experienced National Institute for Discovery Science, or NIDS, an organization he funded to investigate unexplained phenomena. The ranch became a classified research site. Scientists, investigators, and former military personnel moved onto the property with sophisticated monitoring equipment. Infrared cameras, motion sensors, electromagnetic field detectors, spectrometers, and round-the-clock surveillance. Their goal was simple: document everything. What they found defied explanation. The NIDS team experienced the phenomena firsthand. Equipment malfunctioned without cause. Cameras pointed at specific areas of the ranch would shut off or have their footage corrupted. Investigators reported seeing the same glowing orbs the Shermans described, objects that appeared on their instruments but moved in ways that violated known physics. One researcher watched a small orange sphere emerge from the ground in front of him, hover for several seconds, and then accelerate vertically at impossible speed before vanishing. Multiple witnesses confirmed the sighting, but when they reviewed the footage, the cameras had mysteriously stopped recording at that exact moment. Cattle mutilations continued under Bigelow's ownership. Despite the heavy security and constant monitoring, animals were still being found mutilated, drained, and surgically altered. In one case, a calf was found dead with no signs of trauma except for perfectly circular holes cut into its body. The team conducted a necropsy and found that the organs had been removed, but there was no blood inside the animal, as though it had been drained before death. No vehicles had approached the ranch, no people had been detected, and yet something had killed and mutilated the calf in total silence. Perhaps most disturbing was the phenomenon researchers began calling the hitchhiker effect. Investigators who spent extended periods on the ranch reported that the activity followed them home. Electronic devices in their houses began malfunctioning. They saw shadow figures in their bedrooms. Family members experienced nightmares and unexplained illnesses. Objects moved in their homes. It was as if the ranch had marked them, and whatever presence existed there refused to stay behind. Some researchers refused to return. Others developed psychological issues that ended their careers. One scientist described it as being infected, as though something invisible had attached itself to him and wouldn't let go. The NIDS investigation ran for years, producing hundreds of hours of footage, thousands of photographs, volumes of data. But despite all the resources and all the technology, they couldn't explain what was happening. The activity seemed to respond to observation, increasing when studied and decreasing when ignored, as though it was aware of being watched and was deliberately evading documentation. Equipment would fail at critical moments. Clear evidence would be corrupted or lost. It was as if the phenomena was intelligent, toying with the investigators, revealing just enough to keep them interested, but never enough to be proven. Bigelow eventually sold the ranch to a new owner who has continued the research under even tighter security. The current investigations involve advanced imaging technology, LiDAR mapping, and collaboration with aerospace engineers and physicists. The goal is not just to document the phenomena, but to understand the mechanism behind it. Theories range from interdimensional portals to electromagnetic anomalies to something even stranger. The possibility that the location itself generates reality distortions, that the ranch sits on a place where the fabric of space-time is unstable. Recent findings have only deepened the mystery. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed massive underground structures beneath the ranch, voids and tunnels that don't match any known geology. Electromagnetic readings spike in specific locations without any identifiable source. Radiation levels fluctuate wildly, and the sightings continue. Orbs of light, strange aircraft, unidentified creatures, all documented by teams of scientists who arrived as skeptics and left as believers that something truly anomalous is occurring on that land. But the most chilling aspect of Skinwalker Ranch is not what has been seen, but what remains unseen. Every investigator, Every scientist, every witness describes the same sensation. The feeling of being watched by something vastly intelligent, something that understands it is being studied and finds it amusing. The activity doesn't feel random. It feels intentional, curated, as though the phenomena is performing for an audience, giving just enough evidence to provoke curiosity while withholding the answers. Some researchers have come to believe the ranch is not haunted in any traditional sense. It's not ghosts or spirits. It's something else, something older and far more complex, something that exists in a way human minds struggle to comprehend. The Ute were right to avoid this place. They understood, long before science arrived with its instruments and theories, that some land is wrong. Some places exist at the intersection of realities where things slip through from elsewhere. The stories of skinwalkers speak of beings that walk between worlds, that wear different forms, that defy the natural order. Whether that's literal or metaphorical, the ranch embodies that fear. It is a place where the impossible happens regularly, where witnesses with impeccable credentials see things that shouldn't exist, where evidence is gathered only to dissolve under scrutiny, and the ranch is still active. Investigators continue to report phenomena. New sightings occur monthly. The lights still appear in the sky. The cattle still die, and anyone who spends significant time on that property still leaves with the same unshakable feeling. They were not alone. Something was there with them, invisible but present, watching with an intelligence that feels ancient and utterly inhuman. The ranch doesn't reveal its secrets to those who seek them. It guards them jealously, hidden behind layers of phenomena that seem designed to confuse and mislead. Skinwalker Ranch is not just a haunted location. It is a place where reality itself becomes unreliable, where the line between what is real and what is impossible blurs into something terrifying, and whatever resides there has no intention of leaving. It has been there long before humans built fences and brought cattle. It will be there long after the current investigators pack up and leave, because Skinwalker Ranch was never ours to begin with. We are the visitors. We are the ones being studied, and whatever looks back at us from that cursed stretch of Utah desert does so with eyes we cannot see and intentions we cannot fathom. The ranch remains silent and waiting, a door left ajar between worlds, and the question is not whether something will come through again. The question is whether it ever truly left. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button. Share this video with a friend who loves creepy stories. And don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon, because this is just the beginning. The next story might be darker, and you won't want to miss it.